Welcome back to the Pro Sports Podcasters on YouTube. My name is Kubert Duran, and today I want to talk about what you need to be doing to get the most out of your NFL All-Day collection and the most satisfaction out of your NFL All-Day collection. Now, a little while back I did a video on collector strategies, and I went over my current collection at the time, my wife's collection at the time, and a good friend of mine, Manny's collection at the time. And the differences between them, why we collected what we did, what our end goal was, what our strategy was. If you haven't seen that video, I suggest you watch that video maybe after watching this video because the two will sort of tie in together. But the one thing I want to go over today especially is enjoying this, right? Having fun with this. Because a lot of my videos are based around advice related to fantasy football and to player performance. And that isn't necessarily why everybody's, in NFL all day. Not all of you really care about fantasy football, right? I know a lot of you do, and it's one of the reasons why you got in NFL all day, because it just ties in with that fantasy football itch, and it's something that you can pursue year round, whereas with fantasy football, you can get information, but you're not really doing anything with it in the off season. So that's one of the motivations for me, but of course it isn't for everybody. So I've got my latest video was the top 8 kind of like bargain basement rares that you could get that will probably tie into a challenge at some point. So they're worth stashing for that reason. I've done videos on like my top 5 moments for interceptions or sacks or receptions or things like that, right? So I've done these videos. And I don't want everyone watching to think that because I suggest something or I point out that it's a great deal or it's likely to be involved in some kind of performance challenge at some time, doesn't mean you have to have it. It doesn't mean you have to rush out and get it, okay? It's entirely up to you. If you were to look at my collection now versus my wife's collection, and she's got maybe half as many moments as I do, but I think more people would probably be more satisfied or get more enjoyment out of her collection than mine. And it's for 2 reasons. The first of which is generally she only collects moments of players that she's like a fan of, or she knows well, or she's had them on her fantasy football team, or been beaten by somebody who's had them on their fantasy football team. So that's the first thing she goes after. Secondly, she's been luckier than me when it comes to cracking packs. She's cracked some pretty good moments that I'd be all over right away, but with the initial asking price on it, I had to decide whether or not it was that important for me or not. Even though I may have been a fan of the player, it didn't necessarily fit right into my strategy, so I wasn't going to just go ahead and spend the money willy-nilly on whatever moment I like just because it's a cool player. But she's been lucky enough to crack some of those, so they're already in her collection. She got them for, in this case, it feels like nothing because you're cracking a pack. So bonus, right? And then the rest of her moments outside of those 2 things just happen to be moments that she'll watch my videos, right? She watches my videos, and if I say something in a video that kind of gets her thinking like maybe that is a good idea, she'll go ahead and get that moment. Occasionally, she'll see me thinking about stacking specific moments. She'll ask me why, and she'll go ahead and she'll get a couple for herself. So there are some moments that she's purchased just based on my advice, but for the most part, her collection is stacked with players that she likes, and great moments she's cracked with a few additional that she didn't like, but she cracked them. So whatever, they're in her collection. That's her collection. My collection is 100% geared toward performance-based challenges in fantasy football, and I'm looking at everything. Right, this isn't just your basic standard league type fantasy or PPR fantasy. I'm looking at IDP, right? So I'm looking at the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball. What performance-based measures or metrics are NFL All Day most likely going to look to create these challenges? And I compare that to what I've seen on NBA Top Shot. So I go by those kind of examples that they themselves have already set and start stacking players for that reason. I'm not looking to build a huge roster of multiples. I'm not someone who's going to have 10 of this player, 10 of that player, 10 of this player, so that when a challenge does hit, I've got 8 or 9 to sell and make a profit that way. I just want to win challenges and hopefully win the occasional cool, pack or cool moment, cool fandom moment or something that you wouldn't normally get without having to just go ahead and pay up for it on the marketplace, or quite literally have to win a challenge. And I don't want to have to pay up when those challenges happen. I don't want to have to, look at my collection when, let's say, the, top 5 sack leaders on Sunday becomes a challenge, and I look to see who they are, and I've only got 2, and I got to buy the other 3, and the other 3 have doubled or maybe tripled in value because people are trying to make money on the additional ones that they had, sell them at that high point to turn a profit. I don't want to be that guy. I want to just look at my collection and be like, cool, I got all 5. I've won the challenge. Can't wait to get my free pack or say fandom moment, whatever it may be. So that's my thing. But it isn't necessarily yours. So like I said, just because I suggest something doesn't mean you have to go out and get it, right? This isn't, I may give advice, but it's opinionated advice, right? Sure, I'm an NFL analyst and I know a fair bit, but it doesn't mean you have to listen to me 100%. This should be personal to you, right? Whatever it is that gets you excited with NFL all day, that's what you should be pursuing. That's what you should be going after. I've seen some channels that are just flat out telling people you need to do this, you need to have these guys, you need to prepare for this challenge. It's like, well, whatever. You don't, honestly. You really don't. If you can open up your NFL All Day account, go to your collection and scroll through the challenges, and that puts a smile on your face, and maybe watch, click one, watch your favorite player catch a touchdown, or watch your favorite defensive player annihilate Tom Brady or something, like the Von Miller that I always bring up because that's just a phenomenal moment, right? And that puts a smile on your face, then boom, you're enjoying this. It's an added bonus if that also ends up making you some money. If the investment actually turns a profit for you, what a bonus. But 9 times out of 10, people who collect things, they collect it because they enjoy what they're collecting. If they make money on it, it's an added benefit, right? I was a big time collector when I was younger. Huge collector. I collected a lot of things, right? I got so big into collectible card games that my collection was sizable enough that a friend of mine and myself said to ourselves, we've got so much stock in rare singles and such that maybe we should just open a store. So we did. My first store, I literally opened it with my own personal collection because I had accumulated so much, and realized that I'm never going to get my money back on any of this unless I get to sell it at retail. And to do so, I was going to require my own location. And that's what we did. That's how my first store got started, because I just loved collecting so much. And then at some point I decided I need to get something back from this. I've invested so much money into this. I need to get something back. And for a while, winning collectible card tournaments, traveling from store to store, tournament to tournament, and wrecking people was satisfaction enough for me. And in this case, with NFL All Day, they're going to have NFL Fantasy on the moment. Boom. I'm pumped for that. If I can regularly place in whatever rankings they have because of my NFL knowledge, that's going to be satisfaction enough for me, right? For who knows how long, that will be enough. Even if I'm not making much of a profit, I'm winning that little bit of Dapper credit that comes through playing, NFL Fantasy and putting that toward more moments that I'm interested in, and just building up my collection and competing against others because I love competition. That might be enough. But then who knows, maybe 3 years down the road, I decide, you know what, I spent a fair amount of money on this. When you bring up your account value and you see how large it is and you realize it didn't get there by fluke, it wasn't Christmas, right? You spent a fair amount of money to get it to where it's at. You're going to want to get something back at some point. And maybe at that point, I'm going to start looking at ways to maximize my return and my potential, my profit. But until then, I just want to have fun. And that should be your goal too. This should be a fun exercise for you, right? If this is just an investment and you're just speculating and you're not a fan of football, it's going to be a rough go when it comes right down to it. You may be better off with something else. But I don't want you to leave because I want this community to grow, because it's the one thing that'll make sure all of us profit. The community grows, the demand grows, the values go up, we all profit. So let's grow the community any way we can. So do yourself a solid and share this video. Make sure other people see it, because growing the community is the one guaranteed way that we're going to increase the value of what we've already invested in. That's the only way to do it for sure. I'm telling you right now. The more people on the platform, the more demand there is, versus the supply that's there that we already own, the value goes up. So it's a win-win for absolutely everyone. Sure, it sounds a bit selfish of me to say, go ahead and please share my video because you know it's going to do me a solid. But it does you a solid as well. That's what I'm trying to say here is we all win on this in this situation. I'm going to do everything I can to grow this community. And outside the regular channels, I'm not just going to ask people to start, investing in NFL all day here because you're probably not watching my channel unless you already do. And it's not going to be through the website in case you're like a PSP insider already. And if you're not, it's actually one of the best ways to get additional information and more importantly, be involved in some of the market moves that we make. All you got to do is visit the website, www.prosportspodcasters.com. Scroll at the bottom of the main page. There's a application to be a PSP insider. It's absolutely free, right? Doesn't cost you shit. And through that, we have a community of collectors that we share information with and make moves on the marketplace with. Not really going to happen until maybe the season begins, unless there's some big, event that happens before them. But for the most part, right now, we're just sharing information. We're making sure everybody knows everything that we know and a few additional things that we don't just share with everybody here. So if you haven't yet and you're serious about this, it's something you want to do. It doesn't cost you anything, so why not, right? No harm, no foul. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start utilizing some of our other platforms like our Twitter, our Instagram, our TikTok, whatever we have, I'm going to start using to try and entice people to get on NFL all day because you don't want them to wait too long. Really, you don't, right? We've all benefited already when it comes right down to it, but you want to grow the community now before the season begins because if we wait till the season begins, prices are then going to start to go up. And as they go up, it becomes less enticing for others to join the platform. If someone decides, you know what, yeah, I'm big into NFL. This sounds kind of cool. I've heard about NFTs. I should check it out because that's pretty much what got me in, right? I was interested in NFTs, but I didn't see anything I trusted. And then I heard Dapper Labs is doing a partnership with NFL, and NFL doesn't lose, right? They don't lose at anything. So I was in. But if someone else sees that and the season's already started and they visit the website and take a look at some of the prices and they've all gone up, there might be some sticker shock there, and that might be enough for them to say, you know what? No, this is not for me. I don't have that kind of money to invest. But right now, I think everybody has enough money to invest in where it's at currently. You don't have to buy a legendary. I don't own one. You have to invest in rares when it comes right down to it because most of the debuts are commons, and practically 90% of the players people really want to have commons as well, right? There are very few players that don't have a common that are like really star players.